we go. A and B gun tracking and firing. Multiple targets.
Those ammo counters go. Man, there's a shooting gallery down there.
Absolutely the best in home security. But how do you accomplish it? Alright guys, as you saw in that opening introductory video, understanding electricity can bring a lot of fun to 7 Days to Die. Certainly can radically increase your defenses, which is going to be great on those later Blood Moon nights or when you're away from your base so you don't come back to a bunch of damage from those wandering hordes. I really like what I'm finding on electricity, but I'm going to be honest, I struggled with it a little bit because I have a lot of real-world knowledge of electricity, and the Fun Pimps have done a great job of introducing electricity, but it kind of goes against real-world rules, but that's totally okay because we can only expect so much in a video game. We don't really want a game based around real-world electronics. Trust me on this, you really don't. So first and foremost, in 7 Days to Die, electricity is run from a single parent to multiple children mentality. So it's single parent to child. As we know, a parent can have multiple children, but if you're a single parent, you only have one parent. Now I know what people are going to say. You're going to be like, Jalon, but I have two parents. No, you don't. Sorry to tell you, your mom's now a zombie stripper. Sorry. So, as you can see, you go from a single parent to a child, or in this image, I go from a generator bank to a battery bank, and then from the battery bank, I go to a lot of different places. Now, that's just how I do it. I like to do it that way because I can rotate the generator on and off to save fuel, and that way I have a redundancy, because the last thing I ever want to run into on Blood Moon Night is my defense grid going down. So to get us started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down a generator, and when I put this generator down, you will notice that I got it exactly where I wanted it. I have this color-coded pacing out so we can talk about distances in a second. But say I was like, oh no, I put my generator down in the wrong spot. Well, if I come over here and I hit D to interact with it, you'll notice there's no pickup option. That's because you can only pick up traps, switches, lights if they're inside of your land claim. So what I do is I pull my trusty land claim out and I throw my land claim down over here in case I need to move something. Now when I interact with it, I can take it. I felt that that was important to put in because a lot of the previous discussions, things I saw on electricity, it talked about using a wrench, and that just wasn't right, that wasn't current. So all you got to do, have it inside your land claim block claim area, and you can pick up your stuff. Now, when I open up my generator, you see the 6 grayed out engine slots. Well, a generator needs engines. So I fill it up with engines, and as you notice, if I take a few out, my max power output is going to change. So you're going to want to get the best engines that you can for your system. Now, last thing it needs, give it a little fuel, and it is ready to go. Now if you listen real carefully, there you go. You now have a running generator. Now, like everything else in 7 Days to Die, the generator is going to add to the heat map. That activity map, it's the heat map is the actual name. I prefer activity map because everything you do in an area it increases the likelihood of zombies showing up. Now, as I said, I prefer to go from a generator to a battery bank and then to my components, but you absolutely do not have to. I'm going to throw a light down here, and here you go. Now, the other thing I struggled with was the wiring. Because in the real world, you can wire things from component to source or source to component. It does not matter, but in 7 Days to Die, it does. So if I try to right-click on this and make this the parent, and then right-click on this, as you can see, this power source cannot have a parent connection. Generators, battery banks, I take that back. Generators are parents. They are the top of the the food chain. So I take this off and I do this again. Now I right click on the generator and I right click on my light, and that's it. My light's on. Now I can interact with my light and I can turn my light off. I can interact with my light, and if I decide I didn't like where it was, I can rotate it a little bit. Now realize the spotlights don't have 360 degree turning. They are limited to a 180 arc. So make sure when you put it down you are kind of certain which way you want it to go, or you're going to have to pick it up and rewire it in. Turn it back on. We'll leave that on. So you see that 5W. You see this yellow pulse line to my component. Come over here to my generator bank. I'm using 5 watts of power. Now, I made that connection really close. And chances are you're not going to want to have absolutely everything right on top of your generator. So say I wanted to put a light down here. Makes sense, light up the other end of the street. Now I'm going to come here and I'm going to make my connection. And then as you listen, my cable has gone red. We'll talk about that in a second, but if you keep listening, that's it. I have exceeded the length of a cable. Now, what does that mean? That means I have to figure out a way to daisy chain power out to this light. Now, as you can see, I have a red square here. I'm going to drop a light on it. Now, when I come over here and I make my connection and I run out to my light and I try to make the connection, I can't because my cable, my wire has gone red. I can't make a connection while the cable is red. So I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, why did you put it all the way out there then? Well, I'm going to back myself up. Now my cable goes gray again. I'm standing mostly on this yellow block. And I'm basically going to reach. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to make that connection. Your wire will go gray. Or your wire will stop being gray at 10 blocks. But you can stretch. You can reach out 5 more. Keep that in mind for when you are laying out your base. You can get a little bit further without subcomponents. Now, like I said, next week I'm going to talk about all sorts of different subcomponents. I just am doing the basics today. Now, as you can see, I have a bunch of stuff hooked up directly to my generator. Is that a problem? No, not at all. But say my generator runs out of gas. Say I am on the far side of the map and my generator goes down. Now, as you can see, there is still the pulse light because I'm on the wire tool. When I come off the wire tool, that disappears. But now my lights are all off. Now, this isn't a huge deal because it's lights, but it would be a big deal if it was my turrets. So how do we get around that? And that's when we have the battery banks. So I'm going to put a battery bank over here. And when I open it up, it doesn't take engines. Obviously, it's going to take batteries. Now, same thing as the generator. When I pop in, as I pop in more batteries, I increase the wattage. Now you're going to see that this battery bank can put out 294 watts of power, which is less than the 432 watts that the generator can put out. So, are there some things you might want to run straight off your generator? Sure. Maybe some lights, maybe some other things that aren't necessarily defense intensive, or you can build multiple battery banks. Either way you want to do it, it's up to you. So again, if I'm just to show you, I make this connection, I try to come over here, I can't do it, too far away. This power source cannot have a parent connection. Generator is the top of the food chain. However, a generator can most certainly have a battery bank as a child because a generator generates power, battery bank stores power. So now I come down here. Now, what do I want to do with it? Maybe I want some lights. Now, there's a couple of options when it comes to lights. You can connect them as a daisy chain, as you saw over here. I have one to the next one to the next one. Or you can connect them all individually. And the funny part is it does not matter how you do it, because each one is going to function independently. So on this, gotta turn the battery on. So now here's all my lights. However, I can turn one or all of them off because they're all connected directly. Now what about the ones that are connected in series? The generator's on. Technically, I can turn this one off, leave this one on. It's all the same. Next week, we're going to talk about switches and how switches are beneficial. Now, you will notice, like I said, these wires are going to be all over the place. They're going to be in the way, even when you're not on the wire tool. It does start to make things look a little bit bad. If you get really good at it, you can connect things through the blocks. So what I can do is I can disconnect that one, make that connection. You see it's going to come up. If I don't want this to run straight across, again, I can disconnect it. And then it starts to look kind of cool, kind of like what you would think a, you know, post-apocalyptic electrical job would look like. So now let's get into the other fun stuff. Let's get into the home defense stuff. Now I'm going to tell you, I absolutely love turrets. They are one of my favorite things in the game. I'm going to let you know also that the auto turrets, these things are hungry. These things are ammo piggies. You are going to have to make sure that after every blood night, blood moon, that you come along and you make sure that these things are refilled. They will hold up to 1,500 rounds of ammo, 500 in each slot. Now the big thing is you have to lock in the ammo. If you forget to lock in the ammo, it's going to sit there and do nothing. Now you cannot play with the camera until it's powered. So let's give this bad boy some power. Now as you can see, as I talked about pre-planning, I went too far from my battery bank, which is a horrible habit of mine. I tend to forget the 10 block thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in another one right here. Make sure it's close enough. So then this way, I can link that one in, and then I'm going to link this one in. So there you go. Now a lot of people are like, why didn't you just connect it to the generator? Well, the whole point is because I want to show you that you connect it to the battery bank. Now, turrets are hungry. They're ammo hungry, they're power hungry, they're 15 watts each. There is a way to cut down on their power consumption, and we're going to talk about that next week. So, one big thing with turrets that I learned the hard way, I'm going to unlock this. A couple of things. When you lay in your turrets, make sure you overlap your fields of fire, because the turrets are kind of stupid. So you want to make sure, like, I'm going to see that rock right there. I'm going to cover up to the right edge of the rock. So now when I take this out, this turret is going to come up here to this right edge of this rock. Now, some people might be tempted to come over to this turret and be like, okay, the right edge of the rock, and I'm going to go right there. So now I'm covered, right? I have up to the rock and from the rock on. Don't do this. Make sure that you just dial this back over a bit and maybe overlap the rock. The rock is a good thing to, you know, use as a marker to overlap. And the reason why is we all know zombies like to take the path of least resistance. And so if they find a spot where, if they find a spot that they can walk in and not get shot, they're certainly going to do it. Also, these are going to have some cycle time. They are going to have some reload time. So the last thing you want to do is have an opportunity for somebody to, or for a zombie to get right past the turret if it's reloading, especially if there's a lot of them, as you saw in the beginning video, a whole lot of them together. Now, other than that, if things are going really bad, you can jump in here, you can take manual control of the camera, and you can take control that there's the cycle time, the reload time. So just realize that's going to happen. Also realize these do have a 360 radius of fire when you're on manual control, and you can, in fact, shoot yourself in the head. You can shoot your teammates as well if you have manual control. Now, be really careful with this on the cannons, on the turrets. You can target self, you can target allies, you can target strangers, or you can target zombies. Now, I know a lot of people are like, why in the hell would I ever want to target myself? The truth of the matter is it's dialed in the same way with the motion sensors. So, as you can see, it's on target self, and it's on, but it's not shooting me. It's for a different concept. So no, you can't set your autoguns to blow your own head off, which is a good thing. And that is it, guys, for basic electronics. Like I said, I wanted to do this because I really struggled. I really struggled for a couple of days with the outdated information, and it took me quite a bit of messing up and having to break turrets and pick them back up, or break the turrets and then build new ones. And so that is really basic electricity, really basic turret defense. Next week I'm going to go into a little bit more detail using motion sensors and some other things that you can do. Take care, guys. Hey, you. Yes, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Hit that subscribe button. Watch a couple of more videos. Go check out our website.